All right, let's dive right in. If you've been feeling, completely stuck on your Celpip test, just trying to break through to that advanced level, you are exactly in the right place. Our goal for today's explainer is simple, but it's an absolute game changer. We're going to take your basic everyday vocabulary and completely transform it into a powerful CLB9 toolkit.
So here's the game plan. We're going to cover the basic word trap, upgrading common everyday adjectives, finding better nouns for society, stronger verbs for opinions and actions, essential transition phrase synonyms, and finally, formal versus informal swaps. Let's get to it.
But hey, before we actually start swapping out words, why does this even matter? Well, look at this. Lexical range is literally 25% of your total score for both the writing and speaking modules. Think about that. If you're relying on basic, high school level vocabulary, you're actively capping your score at a level 6 or 7. And if you know anything about Canadian immigration, you know that leaving your score at a 7 directly costs you precious Comprehensive Ranking System or CRS points. You just can't afford to ignore this.
Okay, Section 1, the basic word trap. We are officially banning elementary vocabulary.
Let's do a quick makeover and instantly elevate your sentences. You've got to stop saying things are very good. Instead, swap in words like exceptional or stellar. Same goes for very bad. Toss that out and use detrimental or atrocious. If something is important, call it what it is, crucial or vital. Instead of calling something big, use massive or colossal. And rather than saying you feel sad, tell the grader you are devastated or despondent. Applying these descriptive synonyms instantly, and I mean instantly, bumps your response to a Class B9 standard.
But wait, there's a huge catch here. Just memorizing a massive list of synonyms? Yeah, that's not going to cut it. You have to understand collocations. A collocation is basically just a fancy term for words that naturally pair together in English. For example, native speakers will say strong evidence. They'd never say powerful evidence, even though strong and powerful mean the same thing. You want to exert influence, not make influence. This natural pairing is exactly what the graders are listening for.
Actually, let me give you a quick warning on that note. You absolutely do not want to sound like a walking dictionary. If you awkwardly force a highly academic word into a casual context, it totally backfires. Just imagine using an incredibly complex historical term to complain to a manager about a cold burger at a restaurant. Right? It sounds ridiculous. So use your advanced vocabulary, but make sure it actually fits the situation.
Moving right along to Section 2, upgrading common everyday adjectives. This is how we express emotion and describe things way more precisely. But let's start with the good stuff, joy and positivity. When you get a casual speaking prompt about, say, a great memory, you want the tone to be light, but the vocabulary needs to be advanced. Here are the synonyms you need. Instead of just saying it was fun, call it lively. Rather than exciting, say it was thrilling. Don't say you were very happy, say you were ecstatic. If an experience was enjoyable, describe it as gratifying. And instead of saying you went to a party, refer to the festivity. See how much better that sounds? Now flip that. What about the negative emotions? Celpip loves prompts that ask you to complain or describe a tough situation. Instead of angry, you are irate. Rather than horrified, you're appalled. Instead of saying you hate someone's actions, use resentful. Swap out tiredness for fatigue. And if you're describing an event that was crazy, like a terrible travel delay, use the synonyms chaotic or turbulent. These vivid words perfectly define your frustrations for the examiner. We also need to upgrade those boring, everyday descriptors. Instead of old, try decaying. Change right to precise. Instead of calling something different, use odd or exotic. Swap the word just for hardly, and elevate possible to plausible. It seems like a tiny tweak, but it completely changes how fluent and articulate you sound. Next up, Section 3, better nouns for society. Let's look at avoiding repetition, especially in writing task 2. Let me ask you something honestly. Are you still using the word people in literally every single paragraph of your essay? Because if you are, repeating the same basic noun over and over again, you're sending a giant red flag to the examiners that your vocabulary isn't advanced. We've got to fix this immediately.
Here is your cheat code so you never sound repetitive again. Instead of people, use citizens or individuals. For young people, use the youth or adolescents. Swap old people for the elderly or senior citizens. Rather than saying workers, talk about the workforce. And instead of companies, use enterprises or corporations. If you just rotate through these nouns, your essay is instantly going to read like a native speaker wrote it.
All right, Section 4, verbs for opinions and actions.
This is all about sounding persuasive and super professional.
It is time to completely toss out phrases like "in my opinion" or "I think." Gone. Instead of "I believe," state "I assert" or "I contend." Instead of "I feel," say "I maintain." And when you're weighing the pros and cons, please don't write "good thing" or "bad thing." The synonyms you want are merit or upside for the good stuff and detriment or flaw for the bad stuff. These verbs give your argument so much authority.
And when they ask you what should be done about a problem, which they always do, you need verbs that sound like solutions. Instead of saying a city should do or start something, say they need to implement or adopt a policy. Instead of use, try employ. Don't just fix or deal with an issue, tackle or address it. And instead of trying to lessen a problem, suggest ways to alleviate or mitigate it. These are the exact words that score those top marks, for sure.
Moving to Section 5, Essential Transition Phrase Synonyms. This is the glue that connects your ideas logically.
If you are heavily leaning on filler words like but, and, or also, you are leaving points on the table. Try these instead. For a formal addition, use furthermore, like furthermore, the policy benefits all residents. Need a formal contrast? Swap but for nevertheless, as in, it was raining, nevertheless, we continued. For cause and effect, as a result works perfectly. For an advanced contrast between two ideas, drop in a whereas. He prefers emails, whereas I like phone calls. And instead of always saying, for example, mix it up with to illustrate.
And that brings us to Section 6, Formal versus Informal Swaps. It's all about matching your tone to the task. Just look at how wild this tone shift has to be. You might casually text, "Hey," to a buddy, but it absolutely has to be "Dear Name" for a manager. "Thanks a lot" becomes "I would appreciate your assistance." "I wanted to tell you" turns into the highly professional "I am writing to inform you." Instead of a quick "sorry about that," use "I sincerely apologize for." And if you have a complaint, don't tell a business "I'm bummed out," tell them "I am dissatisfied with." Nailing this shift is absolutely crucial for protecting your score.
Since so much formal writing happens in a business context, let's rapid-fire some workplace vocabulary you need to master. Apply for means to submit an application. Recruit or hire means bringing someone onto the team. To resign or step down is to leave a job voluntarily. If you promote someone, they move up in position. A workload is the amount of work assigned, and a performance review is a formal evaluation of that work. Workplace scenarios pop up constantly across reading, writing, and listening, so get these synonyms locked into your brain.
Now, I want to leave you with one very important number today: 16. That is the exact number of express entry CRS points you can grab just by pushing your score from a CLB 8 to a CLB 9 in the writing and speaking modules. 16 points. That can literally be the difference between waiting around for another year or getting your invitation to apply right now. And it all comes down to the vocabulary choices we've outlined in this explainer.
So here's my final question for you. You've got the CLB9 toolkit right here in front of you, but are you actually going to practice these synonyms in real contexts to build those natural collocations, or are you just going to memorize the lists and risk sounding like a walking dictionary? The choice is completely yours, but I know you're going to put in the smart practice. Take these words, apply them naturally, and go get that CLB9. Thanks so much for joining me today, and happy studying.